Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Well Laid Plans. We are a spin-off podcast of Crit Hit Wild. Today, we are going over a Hydra list, but not the Hydra list you're probably thinking of. And I am joined by Les. Les, how you doing, bud?
Good. How about yourself?
Doing good, staying busy. It's a beautiful day today. I'm not sure
It was quite nice.
Yeah, I would say it was about 75 and sunny, not windy. It was a good day today. I cannot complain at all today. So, as always, we'll be using Cerebro MCP for our list builder, and we will be doing Hydra, as mentioned. For those on YouTube, you can look on the screen. You're going to see what it's about. We are doing Baron Strucker Hydra High Council affiliation leadership. And for those of you not familiar with it, it reads, once per turn, after an attack made by an allied character is resolved, if the attack dealt damage, the allied character may use this leadership ability. Choose one special condition the allied character has. If the defending enemy character does not have the chosen special condition, it gains it, and then the allied attacker character loses that special condition. Additionally, once per turn, when an enemy character gains a special condition, the allied character that caused the effect may remove one damage from itself.
So yeah, it's a nice leadership when you get it to work. You can be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna heal some damage. I'm gonna deal you some damage.
Well, I just realized I really like this. Just that with Death Spore Virus, it's just kind of a heal, right?
Oh yeah,
just heals himself.
Yeah. Well, he'll only heal one because no matter how many poisons he puts out. But yeah, it's an automatic. I spend 2, I heal 1. Yeah,
I like the idea. And because I think the biggest problem with Strucker, just on the face, is that he's a 3-threat model, which is really good for affiliation leadership. He rolls really good defenses at 4-3-3, which is above average for 3-threat. He's slightly below average in the health pool for 3-threat at 5 and 5.
True.
But he has healing factor, and with the Death Spore Virus, he can heal himself twice if you're playing his leadership. So we will be specifically building this list around his leadership. We will most likely have another leadership in the list, but the idea behind this list is specifically to play Baron Strucker or Wolfgang von Strucker, which is a much cooler name. I don't care if he's a Baron or not. That's such a cooler name.
I mean, Wolfgang is nice, but you can also, depending on how you want to build this list, get a list of Barons. So
yeah, he's probably not going to be the only Baron in this list. Let's be honest. I think you'd have to fight me to convince me to at least keep one other Baron out of the list. I don't think I can do it. So, a couple other things on the card that are pretty important. He does have Strategic Genius, which allows him and other allied characters within 2 to reroll 1 die in their attack or defense rolls. And then Arrogance, which I have tried to read twice now in my head and just haven't done it because it's longer text than I'd want it to be. Arrogance reads, when this character is attacking before rolling attack dice, you may use the superpower during the attack, add skulls in the attack roll to total number of successes for the attack roll during this attack, add skulls in the defense roll to total number of successes for the defense roll.
Yeah, so everyone gets to use skulls during their next roll.
So that can really backfire.
It can, but if you're already if you're doing his spender or something, you got I got 7 dice, and how many are you rolling? 2? Sure.
Yeah.
Count. We can all count our skulls.
Yeah, you might get kind of. Yeah, it doesn't do. Nothing changes on the backside. It looks like.
No, from what I remember, I think he's front and back pretty much the same.
Yeah, I don't see any differences. He's got an energy attack, physical attack. Energy has a wild incinerate. After resolved, it's a builder, range 3, 5 dice. The spender's range 2, 7 dice for 4 power, but he does get to heal himself for every damage dealt. So even though he's a little less on the health pool, he's definitely has a lot of staying alive with the Death Spore Virus in his leadership, plus healing factor, plus the world is mine. So that's I like it. I think it's he's a pretty solid start to the affiliation. So let's go ahead and I want to bring up the Hydra cast here. It's not as thick of a cast as some of the other affiliations we've recently went over. It looks like it's got about 11 total members. Who's the first Hydra member you want to talk about that we should consider for the list here, Les?
Well, if you want to do points down, I would say Spider-Woman's probably our first one we want to look at.
Okay. We got Spider-Woman here. Yeah, I think Spider-Woman's great. I have really came around on this character. I wasn't as high on her when she came out as I think other people were, and now I'm probably higher on her than other people are. I really like the martial artist and stealth. The immunity to poison's going to be pretty relevant.
But especially with Strucker. Like, she can hang out near him and not worry about that death spore virus.
Yeah, but she also gives out conditions. She can give out poison, shock, stun, and we'll most likely be wanting to give out shocks and stun if I'm not mistaken, where Strucker can give out poison so easily.
Yes, but also that's a nice combo with her spender with if she can roll the wild for the sensory overload, where she can also move someone a short if they are poisoned.
Yeah, so kind of that. She fits in. She might be the best Hydra member fitting in with Strucker. I would think.
I think she does a lot. I mean, she has a place, which is nice. She moves along.
Yeah.
So
I think she does about everything Strucker really wants to be doing. So I think she's probably as close to. I think there's 3 Hydra members that are about as close to Slam Dunks can get as far as in affiliation. So there's probably some that you look at, and then some you probably don't look at. I'm looking at. I just pulled up one that I'm not sure makes any list really, but
there are a couple people on that list. You're like, oh, you're in this list.
I pulled up Sin and just
I took her to Adeptica, but she does not fit into this list. She does I don't think really any conditions anyways.
Yeah, she doesn't do any conditions. She doesn't do a whole lot of anything. She gets a really cool tactics card.
She does. The Expo Sin laser is nice, but that's like the only attack she gets to do to put the incinerates out. And you're like, you want me to use a tactics card for this?
A bad model and a tactics card is what you want me to bring. I just hope one day we get a better Crossbones. That way, maybe she's better. Because she would be better if Crossbones was halfway decent. The fact that Crossbones is so bad makes it so much harder for her to be anything. Because she's not doing a whole lot on herself. But her, we're not playing Sin, guys. We're not playing Sin. Sorry to crush her boats. She doesn't fit here. She doesn't really fit anywhere.
I'd say my next suggestion for consideration for in-affiliation would be Baron Zemo, as we were saying. Another Baron.
Yeah, I think Baron Zemo probably makes the list. I don't see a world where he also has strategic genius. He's got counter strike. He's got charge. He's got master swordsman. He does a lot of cool things. He also gives out bleed on both of his attacks.
Yes,
which is very relevant for this situation.
Also another long mover, and you can definitely split up your Zemo. Well, you probably should split up your Zemo and your Strucker, and that way you have 2 bubbles of strategic genius out in the battlefield doing work for you.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to ask if that's something that would be considerable to kind of building. When we get to the crisis, we might look at some of those Bs because you can kind of separate into 2 teams and have 2 really good layouts there. So a character I want to bring up just because I'm not big on this character, but I do think he probably fits in this affiliation more so than under Red Skull, and that's Armin Zola.
He's a possibility for me. I have been skipping him more often just because he's a medium-based small mover.
Yeah.
In some of the scenarios I play in, he's just too slow for me. Like if I start to need people to shift on the board, he is not one of them.
Yeah. I'm not big on this character overall. I don't think he's very good. I think he just kind of fails in comparison. He's got a lot of text, and a lot of this just says, meh.
I mean, the rerolls can be okay, and it can give your own people a bleed, which gives you a condition to pass on to people if they don't normally do bleeds themselves. And his scientific method tactics card to put on a 3-threat like Strucker can be good.
Yeah.
But again, like we were saying, like you're taking 3 points to hang in the back and sit on a point that doesn't always do what you want them to do.
Yeah, and I think there are better models to do that. I think we can consider them, and when we get to the cutting stage, we can kind of look at it. A couple models we haven't mentioned here in the affiliation pool. Bob, Agent of Hydra. How do you feel about Bob?
I think he almost makes... I would take them because of the 2 points. I think if we end up going with a couple of splash characters that are like 3 points, and we want to go wider, we might need that like 11 threat 4 models of Hydra. That if you want to then take splash, if you want to get to 20, you could take 3 threes.
Yeah. It's really hard to turn down an unaffiliated 2-threat model.
Right. But he's not terrible.
No, the most, from top to bottom, the most equal any of the threat values is 2. I don't think there's a bad 2-threat character. And I've been on that record numerous times. I don't think we have a bad 2-threat character. I think all of them have a place somewhere, and I don't think any of them are bad. I don't think any of them are broken. I don't think any of them are bad.
And I've had excessive violence do work for me, so.
Oh yeah, that's one of those where if you get to do it in a good, like, especially against certain characters, it can do so. I mean, it's nothing. You get to throw 9 dice with a 2-threat character for nothing.
Right.
For literally nothing.
I like him for helping us fill out our points, but an affiliate, like you said, an affiliate 2, that's good, but he doesn't do much for the leadership. So
yeah, he also is. There's some matchups that want to take advantage of KOs and stuff that he does just ignores because he doesn't really die. It's not really his thing. So that's
as long as you're careful, he doesn't die.
Yeah, I mean, don't mess up. It's not hard to not mess up. Just don't let him die. So how do you feel about core box Red Skull?
He's okay.
All right, we can go to the real option. We're gonna look at Red Skull Master of Hydra, right? Probably.
Sure.
Probably worth it. He's pretty good. I've heard good things. Does some good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the troopers are going to be nice if you want to put an extra unit of grunts in. They're always healthy. They do secures. They have range 4 attacks.
Which is dumb.
The only thing for Master Hydra that's going to be disappointing is he put 0 conditions onto the battlefield.
He doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't put any conditions on the battlefield. I was getting ready to bring that up. He does a little bit of everything else, but he doesn't do the condition part. I think we have to consider him though.
And that's fine.
Right. I just think it feels like you should, just because. So the only other 2 models affiliated we haven't talked about are Taskmaster and Viper. So I got Taskmaster pulled up here. How do you feel about Taskmaster? I feel like I've been seeing him pop up in more lists more and more lately.
I don't think he's terrible. Like especially for a great point sitter. Like you can throw him up in the middle usually, and he can sit on a point.
Yeah.
And take those hits, and then with the photogenic reflexes, especially if he gets hit twice, like you can do I roll 4 dice, then I roll 6 against you for the additional damage.
And he's got martial artist.
Yes, so he can't count blanks.
Yeah, so which feels pretty good. How do you feel about him in this list? I know he has a bleed on his builder, but that's really the only.
I would say if we were going to go with a rogue agent that's going to do bleed, I would suggest Winter Soldier over Taskmaster.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. So I just feel like it's such a small list. I think we can justify talking about all of them. So I think the last model here that we haven't talked about, I think actually might fit in pretty well, and that's Viper.
I have used Viper in my Strucker list to be pretty, decent choice. Yeah. She does multiple conditions. She has poison. She has stun. She has slow and stun.
Yeah.
She has stealth. She has her version of martial discipline called Coiled Serpent. Mm-hmm. So if you're within 2 of her and you attack, she can spend 2 to roll 5 dice. And if you don't do damage to her, you take damage back.
Yeah.
She moves long. So, I mean...
Yeah, she's got a place.
Good.
I said she's got a place, too.
Yes. Like her spender, you can, range 3 attack, place within 1. So she can definitely get you around, especially if you're trying to play KG on points. She can definitely help you out, move around where stuff needs to be.
What I'm hearing is we should consider her. That's what I'm hearing.
I put her on the maybe list. Why not? We can see what else we're doing.
Yeah, like I said, I like to add people and just I like to add some people that this might be the only list that I ever add Viper to even consider. So I feel like I got to give her a little bit love when I can. So that's all of Hydra. We ended up with 7 of the members in the consideration pile. They're probably not all going to make it.
Probably not.
I think this is a good affiliation. With a 3-threat leader, you get that big advantage of you have enough lower point models that you can then take kind of the best options for you outside of affiliation. The first model... Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you usually have either like a 9-point core with 3 3s, or you can, if you're taking Bob, have an 8-point core, and you're like, sure, this is like Guardians.
Exactly. And that's like the coolest thing about Guardians. And that's not much one, but it's always like I'm always jealous about it because I'm like, man, it'd be cool to have like an 8-point core and you have 3 models.
Yes.
Or an 11 and you have 4 models. I'm like, I got 11 points. I got like 2 models. What are you doing? So, so the first model. I like to go top to bottom. So what I normally do is I start at the top threat value wise, and then skip 4 and 3, go to 2, and then come back to 4 and 3 because it's the biggest list there. So the first model that will get discontinued is Dormammu. Sorry, he's not in it. He can't be. He'll get his own.
Doesn't play well with others.
Yeah, he'll get his own episode one day, but until then. Well, I guess one thing. How do you feel about the high threat models in this list, like a 6 or a 7?
For what I wrote down for my notes, I didn't put any in.
Yeah, because just looking at him, like I love Malekith. He does give out some conditions. I'm just not sure it's really kind of what you're really looking for with this type of list. It kind of seems like this might be a list that you might want to just stay in that wide. You kind of want to play a little bit like the Uncanny X-Men play.
Yes, that is true. Yeah, I think you want to do some damage, but Malekith wants to do a lot of damage, and he's doing a lot of damage usually with his one attack that does not,
the
doing
attack,
conditions.
yeah, the one attack that doesn't do conditions. So, yeah, I think I agree with that. I more times than not don't play a 6 or a 7 or an 8 in my list. I usually most of the list I build anymore, I don't even play a 5 half the time. But that's just me because I play a weird list in my life. Looking at the 5s, though, are there any 5s that you have that you want to talk about or possibly consider?
I have 2 I want to point out. The biggest one, though, I'll start with, which is Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, Scarlet Witch she does some things, right?
She does a lot of things.
A lot of
with
good
her chaos
things.
magic, her skulls, whenever she does her hex bolt, she can do bleed, hex, incinerate, or poison. All conditions we love in Hydra.
Yeah, and conditions that, especially hex specifically, not one that is super easy to get. There's not a lot of characters that give out hex.
Right.
And she also gives out judgment.
Yes.
So
now it's more limited, but it is anytime that she gets attacked, she can judge people, which is another condition, which she can heal whenever, like, oh, you hit me and I'm still alive, I'm gonna heal one.
Yeah. Also, I really like the hex field.
Yes.
I think that's
her and any other conditions in that area. You're just like, yeah, these don't go away.
Yeah, these and the 3 that don't are hex, judgment, and poison, which are the 3 you want to go away.
Right.
Those are the ones you want to get rid of. Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I think she's definitely a model we consider. I
would say we can also mention now, or we can mention it later. What's nice about her is also her tactics cards, Whims of Chaos.
Yes.
It's a card she can play and to put conditions out immediately and immediately heal from that.
Yeah, and she's got 2. And then what's No More Mutants is the other one.
Yes.
Also pretty good.
It's also a very good one, but
ironically, the one that you probably normally take with her.
Yes.
But it might make the 10 depending. There's a lot of
wiggle room for 10 nowadays.
There really is. Hydra has a decent amount of tactics cards, but they don't have a ton. But I've realized doing this that there are a lot of affiliations that don't have a lot of tactics cards, and you're really scraping the bottom if you don't select specific models that have tactics cards that come with them. Especially Hellfire Club. That's something, if you're building Hellfire Club list, you really kind of start leaning on models that have tactics cards because it feels bad. Some of the cards just end up feeling bad. Being in a 10, you're just looking at it and you're like, well, I'm never going to play these 4, which is fine most of the time. I'd say most people probably play the same 5, 9 times out of 10 anyway.
Yeah, everyone has like that list that they like. Most of the people are, these are what I'm taking. I have like one guy I switch in and out, which is I switch out of maybe 1 or 2 tactics cards.
Yeah, I think anymore it's roughly the same. So who's the other character you wanted to look at?
The other possible one we could talk about is Sentinel Prime.
Sentinel Prime.
The better Artem Zola.
I had a different guess. All right,
he generates a lot of power himself because of his power matrix.
Yeah.
So he's already getting a bunch of power for you anyways. He gives you out rerolls, which is real nice. Suppression protocols can give out conditions, which will heal him, because that's how robots heal. They give out conditions.
Yeah, it makes all the sense in the world.
And then he also has restraint cables, so if you're within 4 of him in line of sight, no matter your size, he can pull you short towards him.
Yeah, I like restraint cables a lot. I don't have a problem with the Prime. I just hate the idea of it getting thrown into somebody.
Yes, like I said, it's a possibility. I just wanted to mention him.
Yeah, I think he's worth mentioning. I have one other 5 that I'd like to mention, I think.
Sure.
Hold on. And that's Ghost Rider.
Ooh.
I like Ghost Rider. He's got that Beam 3 that gives out Incinerate. He has Wild Hex on his builder.
Yep.
He can move anywhere you want him on the board. He gains an insane amount of power. And he's also immune to a lot of stuff. So that's the only thing I think that might worry is because where he's immune to everything, he doesn't really ever have conditions.
But he can give conditions out, which is the important thing we were talking about for the heal.
Yeah. So I don't know how you feel about him, but I think that's the only other 5 we really look at.
I mean, we could definitely put him on as a maybe.
Yeah. Why not? He's good. He's also just a great character, right? I think he's one of those characters that you probably consider most of the time when you're building a list, especially if you own him.
And then once we get to Crises, like I think some mobility in this list makes it really good against especially like X-Men and stuff who are all about like I'm just gonna hop on points.
Yeah, and I think this is a solid list. I think we might have room for 2 5s in this list versus a lot of times you really only have one. Where we're not looking at a 6+, you might end up having a little bit more room, just depending. But I like all 4. We've got 4 or 5s here in consideration. I like all 4 of them. The Sentinel Prime does scare me just because the idea of him getting thrown into like even Strucker.
Anything, yeah. Getting thrown into anyone's not good.
Yeah, it's not a fun thing. So let's go look at 2s. Are there any other 2s besides Bob that you'd be looking at considering here?
I considered maybe Nebula.
Okay. Let's look at old Nebula. She does give out Shock and Stun. Shock's also a really good condition to give out that you don't see very often.
True. And it's nice because it lessens your opponent's attack back to you because it reduces their dice. She's also immune to a lot of the conditions that we'll be putting out, which is nice, so we're not poisoning her. She heals herself, she gets rerolls, and she's just great attrition. Yeah. Like, if you've got a lot of people who are like, I'm supporting, or like, I want to do some attacks. Like, she's like, I want to get up there, and I just want to wipe the board of everyone.
Yeah, I just want to come in here, and she throws dice. She definitely throws dice. Her assassin ability is so good. Yeah, I'm cool with it. I don't see another 2 that I'd be really excited about, I guess. Just thinking of it.
Yep, I was like looking through them. I'm like, these are okay, but
yeah, I think it's hard. It's going to be hard to upseat Bob. I think.
Yes.
Just because of the inaffiliation situation. But all right. So now, do you want to do 4s or 3s first?
Let's do 4s.
Do 4s. All right. All right. I've got alphabetical order here. Who's the first 4 you want to look at?
Let's talk about Agent Venom.
Yeah, I think that's probably a solid place to start, right?
Right.
He's
he's top of the list.
And he's also really good. He's really good.
I mean, for 4 points, I think he does a lot of what we like. He has a bleed on his builder. Mm-hmm. He has an automatic incinerate on his energy attack, which is real nice.
Yep.
You can't re-roll against him. So any of those extra defensive tech that you're using against you doesn't usually matter. He can remove his own special conditions if something's on him we can't get rid of.
Yeah.
He has a place, which within range 3, which is nice. It's like, as I was talking about, I think movements could be really important in this list. And a throw.
I'm a big throw guy. I like throwing stuff. I like having that option. Yeah, I think Agent Venom's great. There's not really a bad word on this card anywhere.
Like I said, the auto incinerate is nice because it's one of those things you're not looking for a while. Like so many times you roll dice and you're like, I didn't get the trigger. Like, I just wanted to put the thing on you. That's all I wanted to do.
Yeah. Oh, and like you're always gonna have the power. You're always gonna have that one power. You get it every turn, so you can at least give out one incinerate at the very minimum every turn.
And it helps the rest of your list's attrition. Like, okay, now you're rolling one less dice. That helps everyone else in the game.
Yeah, nothing really changes. Nothing changes on his backside. I don't know why I say nothing really. Nothing changes on his backside except for the art gets a little bit cooler. Yeah, I think Agent Venom's definitely someone we look at to consider. Who do you have next?
My next one's way down the list. So, do you have anything in the middle that you want to bring up?
Way down the list. All right, let me look here and see what I want to look at. Define way down the list. Give me a letter.
R's.
I can find someone before that. I think. Maybe. The one time I did look at the 4s, it didn't seem like there were a ton of 4s that really fit the scenario. There are a lot of 3s that do, though.
There are a lot of 3s. There are a couple of 4s I put like question marks next to, but I'm just like, do I really want to take these?
I got one here. What about Omega Red?
Omega Red's not bad. Especially with Strucker's ability to put out poison.
Yeah.
The only problem is that's a lot of poison on the board.
There's definitely going to be a lot of poison on the board.
So like once like Omega Red starts poisoning people, like then Strucker doesn't get the auto ability to do it. But if we're also putting in like Spider Woman, those extra poisons can be nice, but she just wanders people around the board.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't think of the only other character I had before that I looked at was I like Beta Ray Bill. I pulled him up a little bit ago. He has the stun and shock. I don't know if I like them being reliant on triggers.
He's a nice brawler. I've used him good in Hydra with Red Skull.
Yeah, I definitely think he fits better in that scenario. I don't have a whole lot. Like I said, the one time I glanced over, I liked Omega Red, but that's kind of because I didn't really think of Spider Woman as much.
And I on mine, I have Omega Red and I have Venom as pretty much the same model with a slash and a question mark. And I'm like, they're both medium base, but they're small movers. They both have that ensnare or the web line. I'm just like,
Yeah, let's we can consider them and just see, just so we have some models in there. So you had an R.
I have an R.
Is it Rogue?
It is Ronan the Accuser.
Ronan I was guessing. I didn't even know if Rogue did anything. I own her. She's not built. Do I own
And
her?
like we were talking with Scarlet Witch, the nice thing about Ronan is his judgment's even better. Like you attack him or any allied character within 3 of him, he can spend 2, give him the judge condition, and then heal.
Yeah.
He has a wild throw on his basic strike. He does have a shock if he can deal damage on his universal weapon. And then Creed Justice is just silly, and especially since with the Accuser ability, like if you daze and KO him, he's going to get to do that probably twice.
Yeah, that Creed Justice is definitely coming when he's getting dazed. And we're not bringing the Power Stone, right? We're just keeping him normal.
I'm keeping him normal, but I mean, some people might, if they have the room, want to do that. But I don't think he's a 5. I think he's the best for us for a 4.
Yeah, I don't like it using a restricted spot either.
With our strategic genius bubbles, it is easier to get a wild on some of these things when you get a reroll.
Yeah. So, do you have another 4 besides Venom, or is Venom the only other 4 you had? That was...
Seriously, the only other one I mentioned would be Sinister, and that was for Root. But I think we have 3 threats that are going to do stuff like that better than our 4 threats.
I would agree with that. What? Oh God, what character is? There's a character that just gives out. Oh yeah, he's in 3 threat. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, Venom. I mean, Venom's. I think someone we can consider. He comes with a really good tactics card. He has a throw. He's got web snare. He's got so many snacks. He's an all in all just a really good character.
And his so many snacks and even his basic attack back gives a bleed. So you attack him, he can at least heal one if you can give him a bleed. If he can do some, because at the very least, it always gives a bleed.
Yeah, at the very least, he's bleeding.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one thing I didn't do a ton of research. Like I said, this is the one I had the least coming into, but I do remember looking at the list and I was like, not a lot of 4s. Mostly probably 3s. A lot of 3s.
Yeah, a lot of 3s.
I mean, I can pull up a lot of 4s here. As if you're watching on YouTube, you're going to see a lot of me clicking on characters. I just click on characters, guys. That's just what I do.
There's a lot I've considered. Black Swan's not terrible, but again, like you said, it's another 4th ret. She does some okay things, but I'm like, how attrition do we want to get? What are we looking for?
Yeah, I think we're going to end up with a ton of 3s, and I really like that. I really like that. And there's a lot of 3s that do a lot of really good things for us.
Do you want to move on to them then?
Yeah, I'm already
there?
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. Let's jump over to 3s.
Do you want to start with the other Baron and make it as easy?
Yeah, we can go to the 3rd Baron. We gotta at least talk about him, right?
I say at least to talk about him.
Yeah,
I think Mordo is very interesting. Besides bringing a ton of mystic attacks, if you ever need them, like you said, he has Hex, which is one of those ones that's hard to get.
Yeah.
He can do
Hex feels real bad
Spender.
Hex feels real bad to get, guys. I don't know if you haven't played against Hex, it does not feel good when all your characters are hexed.
And then Ferocity Acidirec is real nice because you can add 2 dice and you'll suffer a damage, but you can suffer a damage and then heal point if you did a condition to someone. So you're like, oh look, I took a damage. I'm gonna heal that.
Yeah, I'm just gonna take that back. Also, Soul Barb works really well with this leadership, right?
It can, but you want to be careful. You don't want to spread out conditions too much because you still want to be able to give them to people if you're going to try to heal.
Yeah, you're really looking at spreading the ones you don't have a lot of, like the slow and Hex, more so than Incinerate, Poison. Hex is one of those where if you can get everybody to have Hex, you've done something right.
Well, even spreading out Poison, depending on how you want to do it, limits your opponent's power economy because they lose they basically don't power up during the power phase.
Yeah, which does stink for those who haven't dealt with Poison. It does a lot of really nasty stuff. I'm trying to think here. What's the next character you have?
Let's see. Alphabetically, I think Black Cat is one I at least wanted to mention.
Yeah, Black Cat's great, right?
Well, I mean, she steals you an objective. She has a 2-cost spender that gives out a condition called Stagger. And who doesn't love giving staggers and healing one for that?
Oh my god, it's so dumb. It's so dumb.
Yep.
I talk about it all the time. People are like, oh, do you have to deal damage? No, it basically says spend 2 power, give target character within 3 stagger, roll 6 dice. If you get a wild, you get to move small.
And she's a stealth long mover, which fits into a lot of stuff we've already been talking about putting into this list.
Yeah, I think Black Cat's definitely someone that gets consideration. I think she's one of the best models in the game. It's really, you're hard pressed if you own this model. You're real hard pressed not putting her in every list you're putting together. Let's see. I've got one here. I'm not sure if you have one before it though. So what's your next one?
I have a question mark next to Crystal.
Crystal is the one I have, so she gives out a lot of conditions.
She does.
She gives out a lot of conditions, and
she has her own reroll.
Yeah, and she prevents people from removing conditions.
She does, just like Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, which is if you can get those 2 bubbles, that seems good. She's got an inhuman reroll.
Yep.
She might not be doing a lot of damage, but she gives out a lot of conditions.
She could make 3 attacks in a turn.
Yeah. She can do that. Yeah, I definitely think she's someone to consider. I think she does enough.
Yeah, I think we can consider her.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Now this is where Who's the next one do you have?
Domino's very similar to our Agent Venom. She has a grenade. Hey, it gives incinerate. It does explosive on a wild. You know, she has probability manipulation, which can be silly.
I mean, you can't roll.
It's a
you
mention.
Don't count crits against her.
Yep, it's worth a mention.
Is it worth
Whether
consideration?
we go with it, I'm not sure, but I mean,
yeah, I think it's worth considering at this point. We're not flooded with models where this is a very linear leadership more so than some of the other ones we've talked about on this cast. I think this will probably have the least amount of models overall in the list when we go to considering. So I think we can kind of be a little bit lenient on some of them. So the next one I have is a couple down. That's Hawkeye.
I mean, as we were saying, you know, nice long range, has a couple of conditions he can choose from, has a placement.
He does things we want, right?
He can pick either physical or energy.
Yeah, he's Venom's worst nightmare, guys. If you haven't had the unfortunates of dealing with that.
Though him and the Venoms have the same problem: is he's got a great physical. Those other two stats he has, not so good.
Yeah. The one positive is Hawkeye's never near anybody, so it's odds are you're getting, shot at with a size, Cable's his worst nightmare.
Yes, Cable is his worst nightmare, which you don't get to see him a lot, so.
Yeah, and we're not, not a lot of Cable out there. I do think X-Force is in a lot better situation than they were 6 months ago. But
yes.
Still probably not. It's 5 threat leaders are really hard unless that leader is just busted. So yeah, I think Hawkeye's someone we consider. Who did you have anyone in between Domino and Hawkeye?
I do not.
All right. Who's your next one that you got?
I was considering, though, just as we said with Domino, Nick Fury and the Howling Commandos as maybe a possibility.
Okay. I got one before that we'll go back to. But, yeah, the automatic grenades, they got your back, the siblings in arms.
Stealth.
Yeah, yep. This model, I think with the changes in the scenarios, this model became immensely better than it was before those changes. And I think this model got really good. I don't think this model in a shell was great when it came out. And you could probably tell that by the sales and stuff. Not a lot of models it wasn't picked up. But it felt like as soon as all the scenarios changed, this model just automatically just started appearing everywhere.
I think it's much more popular. I mean, the thing that's always hurt it is it's only affiliated in Shield.
Yeah, that hurts, and it's like a $50 box for one model.
Yeah, because it's a medium base with 3 models on it.
Yeah, because I was gonna buy it not too long ago, and then I was like, yeah, I might want to play them somewhere just for fun, and it was like $48 or something after tax. I was like, oh, never mind. I don't want it that bad. And then I bought Red Skull, which was like $55 or something. I was like, ugh. I was like, I get 2 models. It's different. It's not different. It's not different at all. Yeah, I think this model's fine. I think this model's good. I think it's definitely one. I think it's hard pressed when you're playing a scenario style game or really attrition. You're probably going to consider them. The one model I wanted to talk about before that was Hood.
Okay.
So, and it's mainly for the heal.
I mean, healing's not bad.
And it also gives bleed that we can give away.
As long as the opponent already doesn't have it, that's something you can give away, which is nice.
Yeah, so he gives out shock on his Dark Lightning. He gives out bleed on his heal. He has his possessed side has a wild bleed on his normal attack and gives out shock as well on his Dark Lightning. So I didn't know if that would be enough, but I thought that might be someone that might be kind of...
It's also Mystic Rapid Fire. I mean, that can also be really useful to us.
Yeah. So I didn't know how you felt about it. I know you got a lot more experience in this. I'm just kind of throwing oddballs out there and seeing if anyone sticks.
I don't think he's a terrible choice. I would say we will have to wait to see who we need to pair out.
Okay. Worth the consideration. I'm going to give myself credit for that. Got one in there. That's not who I wanted to click on. I clicked on someone I clicked on it again. Sorry for those thinking that we might consider Mysterio. We're probably not.
I was not considering Mysterio, no.
I kept trying to look at Mystique, and I kept clicking on Mysterio. I don't think Mystique really... I mean, she does a lot of stuff we want, but she doesn't really give out any conditions.
Right. Mystique is good. It's just not what we're trying to do with the leadership we're currently working with.
Yeah. She's just... you want to talk about a model who has got, like, miles better in the year 2023? Mystique. Talk about a model that just... Emma Frost made her so much better. The changes in the Crisis, plus all of the different cheaper threat values for Brotherhood. It's a model that has her values very high. So the next model, I have a feeling we're both going to agree on, and I think he's probably as close to a slam dunk in this list of any model we're going to talk about.
I think I agree with you, but I'm going to bring up Proxima Midnight before we get to that one.
Okay. We'll go back for those on YouTube. Just pretend I didn't bring that up. I like Proxima. I forget about her a lot because I only ever think of her with Corvus.
True. That's what a lot of people do. Her Spear Throw, range 3, does get her to place afterwards, has a wild poison. Mm-hmm. Her Big Spender can put out 3 conditions, which can give her a heal.
It just has to do damage, right? Like, it just does damage and gives out bleed, poison, and stun, which is really good.
And then, like we were talking with Viper, she has martial prowess, so if she has the power and spends it, and you don't do any damage to her, you're going to take damage.
I like Proxima. I mean, also, like, she's a murder stick.
Yes.
It's something I think people forget because Corvus is the murder machine. But, she's that little robot, doing just as much work. And
her and Zemo can tag team quite a few models.
Oh yeah, and you kind of forget about her. Like, she's not, especially with Corvus or with other threats. You're like, oh well, I'm worried about Corvus, and it's like, yeah, but Proxima's going to do a ton of damage. And at 3 threat, you're not really spending a ton. You don't have a massive investment like with Corvus. You've got 5 plus a restricted spot plus. Then you have a tactics card, and you've got your whole scenarios kind of built around both of those. Yeah, I like her. I did not. I forgot she gave out. I always forget about Quantum Starburst giving out all 3, which is really, really good. And some that we don't have a ton of stun. We don't have a ton of stun that we've really looked at in the list so far.
Like I said, that's why I was like, yeah, she might be able to fit into this.
Yeah, no, I like it.
You want to talk about our slam dunk now?
Yeah, we can. I've already got them up on the screen.
Yeah, Pyro's a slam dunk.
Pyro's a slam dunk, guys. Fun fact, if you're playing Baron Strucker, you probably should play Pyro. And I think he might honestly just be part of the core you're looking at, right? Like, I think you're really looking at him as part of that core.
It's a good possibility.
Probably that first unaffiliated model you're looking at. And ironically, the main point is Firewall.
Yes.
You're giving out Root and Slow. Guys, Root's good. There's not a lot of characters that give out Root. And he just does it for 2 power. Also gives out Incinerate. A lot of Incinerate. He can spread a lot of Incinerate to everything on the board. And then he can spread Incinerate everywhere. And then guess what? He also comes with a fantastic Tactics card.
Hey, did you have that objective? Are you incinerated? You don't have that anymore.
You don't have that anymore. Bye. Pyro's a slam dunk. We're going to go ahead and put him in there. That reminds me of someone that I did want to talk about briefly. I don't think he really gets it, but Groot. Groot also just gives out Groot. I don't know if he's worth it, but he does have a stagger on his spender. He comes with a decent tactics card that heals everybody. He heals himself, and he gives out Root. I don't know if he's good enough, but...
I don't think he's good enough for what we're trying to do. I think we're going to have a lot of other 3s that we prefer to take over him.
Yeah.
Especially with his spender being 5.
Yeah. I think it's one of those where it's like, if you really like Groot, this might be a decent place for him, You could also probably squeeze a Rocket in too at that point if you really if you want to do those guys with Strucker. Yeah, if you're real big on Strucker, you want to play Strucker, but you love Rocket and Groot, he fits in here. As if you've watched any other episodes, we're mostly looking to build a list, a tournament-ready list based around a specific leadership. So there are going to be characters that get excommunicated. But if they're a favorite character of yours, play them. I do mention those types of characters during most of them just to be kind of put it out there, like play them. They fit in here. They just might not be they're not your most optimal choice, but they're a fine choice. No one's gonna look at your list and be like, ha, Rocket and Groot. They're gonna be like, oh crap, Rocket and Groot can do some stuff.
Right.
So you're not gonna be bad on that, but I kind of wanted to give him a little honorable mention there. So now we've got the bottom third here of 3-point models. Who's the next one you want to look at?
Skimming through them, I think there's only one I already mentioned Winter Soldier earlier. I already kind of feel like he's Hydra, being, themed and all.
He does feel like he should probably be Hydra, right?
He has Hydra tactics.
He does have a literal ability that says he's Hydra. What do you feel about the original Human Torch, Mr. Jim Hammond?
I have not got to use him much.
I haven't either. I don't actually know anyone. I don't even know if I know anyone who's ever purchased this box. But he can force you to drop an asset token. He's got a hit and run. He gives Incinerate on his Beam 3.
I think he's nice. I just think that we're taking Pyro over.
Yeah.
The torch.
I think the worst thing is that Nova Burst only being Beam 2 is real kind of annoying.
But I mean, he can spend that up to be like a real powerful attack, which I understand that's why it's only a Beam 2.
Yeah, but Beam 2, at most you're hitting 2 characters, and at that point you could pay up to 8 power. I just wish it was a Beam 3. I wish it was a Beam 3 and had a limit of like 5 additional power. Or maybe even less than that. I think that would have been cool. I just this might be the only time I have a chance to ever mention this character, so I wanted to put him out there. If you like him, play him, I guess, but he
does some things. So there's definitely some possibilities if you wanted to have the Human Torch in there.
Yeah, he definitely does stuff and things, but he also kind of dies. He doesn't have really any defensive tech, and he can kind of just get punched in the face and die. But I think he's fine. He might be someone that, if you really like him, play him. We're probably going to get another Human Torch eventually, and hopefully he's a little bit better.
You'd think, but we'll see.
Yeah, I can hope. Yeah, I think old Mr. Buchanan Barnes is someone we definitely consider. He should probably just be Hydra. Even everything about his character looks Hydra-y.
But it's because it's Winter Soldier,
it's the Hydra version of James Buchanan Barnes. It's not even like the normal one or like the good version. Like they literally designed this and were like, yeah, this is the, this is Winter Soldier that you see in Captain America, the Winter Soldier. Like this is the bad version of this character. Like he is under manipulation from Hydra. So,
and then I at least wanted to mention for consideration the last model on that list, which is X-23.
X-23? I'm a big X-23 guy. I think she's really, really good.
If you're gonna if you're considering in your list Zola with the scientific method, Laura Kenny can get real dumb real quick with that card, plus her healing factor and everything else she's doing.
Yeah, she can do a lot of cool stuff. Yeah, I'm definitely willing. We can put her in there. We've only got 26 models.
Only.
That's the least. I have never had less than 30. So we got 26. I don't think it's bad. And I think there's a decent amount of these we might be able to eliminate pretty quick. I'll do a quick run through real quick. Oh god, what did I do? I did some. I know what I did. So we've got Baron Strucker, Spider Woman, Zemo, Arm Zola, Bob, Agent of Hydra, Red Skull, Master of Hydra, Viper, Scarlet Witch. Did I even say Strucker? Did I just skip past him? Strucker's at the top, but he's not going anywhere. Then we have Sentinel Prime, Ghost Rider, Nebula, Agent Venom, Omega Red, Ronin, Venom, and then Baron Mordo, Black Cat, Crystal, Domino, Hawkeye, Nick Fury, and the Howling Commandos, Hood, Proxima, Midnight, Pyro, Winter Soldier, and X-23.
Well, I know that me and you were already talking that we weren't sure on Sentinel Prime. I think it could be interesting, but I do worry about him being tossed into our own guys. I think we can cut him.
Yeah, honestly, if there weren't so many ways to throw him that you're, because this is the problem. If you're playing in an event and you're playing a tournament, you're probably, if you can get through an entire event without playing against a Hulk or a Malekith, if you know at your local scene no one's playing those models, play Sentinel Prime because he'll do great things for you. If you have any thought that you're going to run into a Hulk or a Malekith or one of the characters that can just throw any size character.
Thanos, Thor.
Yeah, and just trust me that it's not a good time. Your Prime is going to kill the rest of your team. I've had it happen to me, and I've done it to other people.
Yeah, dodging 6, you could brace it maybe once, but they have that throw again, and you're like, this is not gonna.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I played one game of Sentinels against Sentinels with Malekith. I've never played such a lopsided game in my entire life. Like, and I felt bad. I mean, it gets to a point where you just feel bad. Like, and this was before like the Malekith errata, so you were literally just throwing primes into like, and it was just such an ugly game. It was just like, okay, that wasn't fun. We're not going to do that ever again. So until there's a possibility of that changing, it's going to be real hard to take Sentinels. And I just don't think that's going to change anytime soon. Sentinels are going to be a tough play just because there is 6 auto damage once they get thrown into somebody. Even blocking 2 and taking 4 is not a good time. And I think we're going to have a lot of models that are really only rolling 3, maybe 4 defense dice. Taking lumps like that on a throw is just not a good time.
Right.
So, how many 5s do you think we can get by in the list? Are you thinking 1? Or are you thinking 2? I don't think 3. I think 3 would be tough.
I think 3 is too much. I think it's going to have to come down to: are we keeping Master of Hydra? Are we keeping Scarlet Witch? Are we keeping Ghost Rider?
Yeah, we've got those 3. Do any of them stand out that you're just like, nah, I'm not feeling it?
I think we have better possibilities with Ghost Rider and Scarlet Witch than we do Master of Hydra.
And I like the idea of not being tempted to play Red Skull Master of Hydra. So, Red Skull, you're great. You're going to get your own episode, I promise. But for this one, bye.
Yeah, he's going to be in a lot of episodes, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he's already been in. He's been in a couple recordings so far. None of which are live. So, teasers. I don't think.
And then, how about our 4s then?
Yeah, let's leave those 2. And then a 4th threat, we've got Spider-Woman affiliated. I don't think she goes anywhere.
Yeah, I think we keep her.
And then we've got Agent Venom, Omega Red, Ronin, and Venom. Not a lot of 4s. How many 4s do you think? Maybe I don't think we're going to need more than 2.
Yeah, I think we pick another 4 and we stick with that. So I don't know if you would want to do Agent Venom.
I think Agent Venom is probably the one I would choose. But I could feel an argument. I think Venom is probably the one that's least likely to make it.
I agree.
So I can I'll go ahead and kick him out. If you have, and I don't think either of us were super high on Omega Red. I think it's really between Venom and Ronin.
And I think we could tell people you could maybe do either one. If you prefer Agent Venom, you could. Or if you prefer Ronin.
Yeah, and this is one of those boats. If you're in a world where you really like playing Guardians and you really want to play some of them, and you've got Ronin, Groot, Rocket, you can make a little bit of a hybrid list because they do fit in well. I think Agent Venom's probably the correct option.
I can go with that.
Yeah, I think he's probably the best option. And if you have Spider-Woman, guess what? You have Agent Venom. So...
Yes.
We're helping you build boxes here, guys. We're helping.
Cost effective.
Yeah, we're helping to be a little cost effective because I can promise you, a bunch of my other lists, they're not cost effective. There's just one person there. It's hard, man. It's hard to find a good box that you're going to play both of the models.
True.
In an affiliate, in a specific affiliation. The core box, like when we did the core leaders, I think I ended up with like 2 core box models and 1, and I think 2, and I think I only ended up with 2 in both of 3 and 1. 1 had 3, and I think 1 had 2. 1 had 2 for sure. I don't remember if I had a third one or not. I don't think it did. I think it was 2 and 3. And I felt kind of bad because I really wanted to like force just keep like at least 3 core box models. But some of the core box models just aren't great anymore.
I mean, some of them have their spots, but I mean, if they're also not affiliated, it's like, am I splashing this?
Yeah, there's really only 2 models, one on each side of the core box that you can play pretty effectively in any list and not feel bad about it, and that's Baron Zemo and Iron Man.
Those are 2 good choices.
They're 2 really good choices. So I think we've got our 4s limited down here. I like where we're at on 4s. So for 2 threats, we got Bob and Nebula. Do we keep 2, or are we looking at just keeping 1?
I think we just keep Bob.
Yeah, I probably would agree with that. But guess what, guys? If you want to have that Guardian sub-theme, it's there for you. All right. So then we got 3s. We've got 20 models. So we've got 10 models to cut. And then not all of them are going to be these 3 threats. Or, well, they might all be 3 threats, but they're not going to be all these unaffiliated 3 threats. We probably have a couple Hydra members we might end up cutting down. I think we have 6 total Hydra members. We have Viper, Bob, Arnim Zola, Baron Zemo, Spider-Woman, and Baron Strucker. You feeling...
I think we can probably get rid of Viper.
Okay. Yeah.
And Zola.
Viper. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's really hard with the other 3 threats.
Yes.
It's going to be...
We have a lot of good splashes. I think the ones that we have that are already affiliated are good choices. We don't need to have any extras.
Yeah, so we got 8 more cuts to do. If we keep 2 5s, we've got 8 more cuts to do. So right now we'll have 2 5. We're looking at 2 5s, 2 4s, a 2, and then 5 3s. Which is pretty good variety. That's essentially where most of my lists end up. Personally, I like to have like 2 5+ models, 2 to 3 4s, 1 2, and then the rest 3s. Depending on what you end up with 4s. Depending on your list. There are some lists, one specifically, like Kingpin Criminal Syndicate, you're probably going to have 4 or 5 4s, just because Criminal Syndicate has a ton of really good affiliated 4-threat characters. So depending on your affiliation, that might flip-flop between 4s and 3s, but the majority of your list, you're usually having 7 models in that 4 to 3 threat range.
I'll say if listeners want to do a wider list with Strucker, I think you can probably drop a 4 and put another 3, or drop a 5 and put another 3.
Yeah.
Because you could easily do 1, 2, 3. You could do 6 3s and a 2 at 20 points, and still be affiliated.
Yeah. Yeah, and probably feel pretty good about it, if I had to say. Yeah, because you can have Strucker, Zemo, Winter Soldier, and Bob, right? And 11, yep. And then you have 3 more 3s. Yeah. Which feels good. Which feels real good. So what are some of the 3s here? So looking at the 3s, I've got Baron Mordo, Black Cat, Crystal, Domino, Hawkeye, Nick Fury, Hood, Proxima Midnight, Pyro, Winter Soldier, X-23.
Well, we know we're keeping Pyro, so we don't have to talk about taking him out.
We're not taking him. We're probably not taking him or Winter Soldier out, guys. They're both probably here for the long haul. You know what's really funny? I said that on an episode not too long ago, and then cut him. Not Pyro, but Winter Soldier. I was like, he's in, he's good. And then like 2 minutes later, I was like, never mind, guys, I lied. Just if you stop listening at that point, you'll never know that I lied to you. But until then, I think X-23 probably fits the least for what we're doing.
Yeah, like I said, she was a mention. I think there's some builds, depending on how you want to work a list, you can put her in. I don't think she works with what we're working on at the moment. So
yeah, I think she, and to be fair though, I think she's the only one that really doesn't. I think everyone else we had left here fits in really, really well. So what's one you're not super high on here?
I'd say Crystal. I think she fits the formula we're making, but I don't know how
I have a thing I want to say because I think it'll articulate what you're trying to say. Crystal feels very much like a fun tabletop with your friends lineup, but doesn't feel like a tournament playable ready lineup.
I can agree with that.
That's just like every time I look at Crystal, I'm like, she does stuff, she seems fun, but like if you put her in a tournament list, you just don't feel good about it.
And she's going to be wild fishing. Now, she might be able to reroll 2 dice to try to do it, but I mean, we've all seen Marvel dice.
Well, and you don't want to be. I don't think you want to be in a world where you're trying to keep her next to like Zemo and Strucker to get those rerolls.
Right.
Like, it's just not going to feel good to have 9 threat really clumped up just to give out conditions when we have options that can give out the conditions better. And that might have been the only... Crystal might only... There. I think she got mentioned. There might only be one list that she ends up in. But I think she's definitely fun if you really love Crystal, and I know there's a lot of people who love her as a character.
And she, her elemental infusion can be good, but she has to stay not dazed and
you're doing a lot.
Can you make it work? Sure. But
you end up doing a lot for a character that we can upgrade pretty easily, I feel like, with the others here. All right.
We're down to some tough choices.
Yeah, I really like all of these, I think. I think Proxima is probably the next one I feel the least good about.
Like I said, I think she's interesting. I could feel it. We could also drop her.
Yeah,
I wanted to bring her up.
No, I think she's good. I think she does. I mean, I was pretty well sold on her, but now looking at the other options, it's really hard. And is it ever going to feel great not taking her without Corvus?
Right.
So
I mean, it could, but I mean, there are other. Like I said, we have a bunch of options on this list.
It's real hard because the rest of these choices are really, really good. So,
because I still kind of like Fury Senior, because Fury Senior Winter Soldier is just like the Shield version of, hey, I can double got your back. I can do it in Hydra too.
Yeah, and we've got 5 people to cut. Oh God.
Well, I could say we could drop Cat, unless you really have you had said at your local store, if you've got the people with a Hulk or a Malekith, and that's going to be your tech against that, you might want to keep a Cat in.
Yeah. Cat's tough too because she gives us so much good scenario play.
She does.
She's tough. So I was thinking keep. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's 8. So we keep 3. Yeah. So I was thinking keep Pyro, Winter Soldier, and Black Cat.
Okay.
Those were the 3 I was thinking.
I think like we were talking to the listener, we're at your choice of what do you like and what do you want this list to do.
Yeah, I don't really want to cut any of them because I'm just like, listen, just you look at these and you pick 3 of them, or really, you pick one of Hood, Nick Fury, Hawkeye, Domino, Black Cat, and Baron Mordo because you need to keep Pyro and Winter Soldier. You really need Winter Soldier to stay affiliated. That's a big thing for your really wide scenarios. You're going to need Winter Soldier to stay affiliated. So just consider him a Hydra affiliated character. And then Pyro does everything you want to do. So you're really looking at Hood, Nick Fury, Hawkeye, Domino, Black Cat, and Baron Mordo. And you get one of them. Right? Yeah. So you get one of them. Is that kind of where you're at, thinking where we just got to pick one of those 6?
Pretty much.
Okay. Which one do you want to pick? You're my guest. You're my guest. I'm giving you this last decision. I don't want to make it.
Oh. I'll go with Baron Mordo.
Mordo?
Yes.
Okay. Let's do it.
I think he offers us a lot of mystic attacks.
I love the Hex.
Incinerate, and
I
Poison.
I love the Hex.
He can sit in the back for us. He can do stuff like that, and then he can also increase our attack efficiency with the ferocity of Sidorak.
Yeah, I love that, and I love that he can spread Hex. So I love the range 4. It's a wild Hex, but he can give Hex. But Scarlet Witch also gives Hex, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you
and so does Ghost Rider. So I mean, we have a lot of options.
Yeah, we have a lot of things. We're doing things and stuff, and he fits in really well. I like that choice, so I'm good with that. So I'm going to go ahead and eliminate the rest of these. So we're taking out Domino, we're taking out Black Cat, Hawkeye, Nick Fury and the Howling Commandos, and Hood. So our 10, we finished with, we have Baron Strucker as our leader. Then we've got affiliated Hydra members Spider-Woman, Baron Zemo, Bob, Agent of Hydra, and then Winter Soldier as a rogue agent. And then we've got Scarlet Witch, Ghost Rider, Agent Venom, Baron Mordo, and Pyro as our rounding out our team. So we got 5 3s, 2 4s, 2 5s, and a 2. I really like the list. When we get to the end here, I'll pull up the list breakdown and go through, and I feel like we're going to have a ton of options on different threat values that we can bring, which I really, really like with this list. And I love the fact that we can go really, really wide. Are we a 3 short from going 7 wide at 20? I think we're a 3 short of going 7 wide at 20. 7 wide at 20, though, might end up just losing you the game because you have no beef, right?
But I mean, 6 wide.
I think 6 is really where you want to be.
This could be fine.
Yeah, I think 6 is really where you want to be. And I think we can do that really easy, right?
We have the 4s and or a 5 in there. I think we could easily have switched some of that stuff out.
Yeah, I think
we're using Bob. All you got to do is upgrade Bob into something with whatever points is left.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. So we can do 5. Yeah, you can do 5 3s and a 5. 5 3s.
And that 5 could easily be Ghost Rider. I mean, Ghost Rider loves having more people on the board for him to be like, oh, did you hurt them? I get power for that.
Yeah, I'm going to take all this power. I'm going to take all this power. I'm going to take all this power. Yeah, I'm going to take all this power. I get more power. He just has 10 power every turn. It's a wonderful world. And then he can pin and stare. And pin and stare can just wreck a game. It can really turn off things, which is really, really good. Yeah, I think we're gonna have a lot of options. I think we can stay 6 wide. I think we can stay 6 wide really easily at every threat value, really.
I mean, it's definitely got options, which is what we wanted.
Yeah, from 17 above, I think we're really looking at that. So we can go into tactics cards.
I would suggest Whims of Chaos, and I know we already talked about Pyrotechnics.
Yeah, does Strucker have... Does Hydra have any tactics cards? I'm sure they do, right?
They do. None of them really made my list. I put Exceptional Healing in as a possibility, but Strucker is the only one it'll be able to play on.
Yeah, I honestly don't know what any of these do. Is World Domination good? I don't know.
The one that gives you points if you do all the secures, it could be. Like, I mean, we're going to go wide, but I don't think we really have, like, we're not going to be doing, I don't plan on suggesting Mayor Fisk or anything that makes that, like, Red Skull makes that trick, turn 1, pop up and go.
Yeah, and the worst thing about, like, Mayor Fisk and stuff, we'll get to that when we talk about that, is some of these feel really bad because, like, you do have to kind of plan around. Like, you have to know if you have play on certain ones and not just want to play them because of... Like, oh, I want to play 20 points, so I want to play Superpower Scoundrels. I was like, yeah, that's really cool and all, but, like, you just lose that game against, like, so I had, like, in my local game store, where I play Criminal Syndicate a lot, you'll hear that a lot. They make fun of me a lot on Crit Hit Wild for always playing Criminal Syndicate. But there was a lot of people who played Superpower Scoundrels just because they wanted to play 20 points, and they usually play me one time before they realize, oh, I just lose this game as soon as it starts.
Yeah, that's a real bad idea against you.
Yeah, it's like, this game is over, and it's over real fast. Because it's one of those things where it's like, all right, turn 1, especially if you get an extract. Like, I played, it was like Spider Infected, and it was like turn 1, it was like, oh, cool, I got 8. And then they were like, what?
10 points on the board? Oh, my God.
Yeah, and they were like, what? And I was like, yeah, it's 8-2. And then the next game, like the next turn, they couldn't get me off any points. I was like, oh, cool, it's 6. I got 8 more. And they're like, okay, I'm just taking this out of my list. We're not doing this ever again. And I'm like, okay. Like, at least you learned. Like, so there are you really got to think about what you're playing against, what you could play against, and you got to kind of play around it. Yeah, I think, but to get back to my point, I think Whims of Chaos is definitely one we're going to play here. I added Pyrotechnics. How do you feel about Ghost Rider's card, since he's in our list?
I mean, we have a Bob, and Bob's always sacrificial. So
we do have a Bob, and once Bob does his job, it's real nice to be able to just throw Bob away. Bob turning into another Ghost Rider seems fair, right?
True. I mean, we also have some other threes, like we're maybe like so and so doing a lot. Well, no, how he becomes the new Spirit of Vengeance?
Yeah, yeah. Let's and you can then you can work, and it's really fun. Something I was because Fred in the Midnight Suns list, he started playing them a lot, and I said, "There's something I want you to understand is that if you think you're going to need to use Deal with the Devil, figure out which model you want to sacrifice, get that model into position where you can drop Ghost Rider off."
Right.
Like, move him where you want Ghost Rider to be, because you get another activation with Ghost Rider. Because
it's so silly that it removes the activated token.
Yeah. So it's just like, get him in position and then set up. Like, you'll be ready. And it's like, oh, I didn't think about that. It's like, yeah, because a lot of times you end up, putting him on a back point somewhere because you just put him on a hidden model, and it's like, okay, well, now Ghost Rider's not near the fight. Do we have any other tactics cards? Does Spider-Woman have any tactics cards?
She has Double Agent.
Is Double Agent good?
It can be good. It can give you an extra activation.
I really don't know. I've honestly just do not remember at all what it says. At the start of the activation phase...
Yeah, go ahead, read.
Yeah, it says, okay, so Double Agent, at the start of the activation phase, an allied Spider-Woman will spend 2 power to play this card. Choose an enemy character the next time the chosen character gains an activated token, or remove an activated token from Spider-Woman. I mean, so you'd have to. So you really want to activate her? You really only play it if you want to activate her first,
or you want to force a model to activate before her, so that you mess up someone else's activation lineup.
I mean, it might be worth considering.
I mean, if we need one, it's a possibility.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and throw it on the list. I don't think there's any other. Does Agent Venom have a card? I don't think Mordo does.
Not that fits into this.
Yeah,
he has a Guardians, and then he has one with Spider-Man.
Yeah, as I say, he has all his cards deal with other people. Winter Soldier doesn't have a card that we can use. Mordo doesn't have a card.
We can try kick them while they're down. I think that's especially with what we're going for, might be a real good card.
Kick them while they're down. I like Kingpin just throwing. He's just throwing money on Daredevil. So kick them while they're down. Any character may spend 2 power to play this card. Choose an enemy character. When targeting this character attacks this round, allied characters may roll 1 die for each special. That's really good. Yeah.
I mean, we have a list of special conditions.
Yeah, that's really. I didn't know that card existed. I think that is designed for this list more than anything. So we have no more character cards that we can look at. So we've got 4 on the list. So what 2 restricted cards do you think of for this list?
I think patch up with as many as small characters we have isn't a bad choice. Okay. There's going to be a lot of times I think that we just want to be like, let's just take some damage off this guy.
I'm a big patch up guy. Are we just pretty traditional? Are we a brace and patch up, or an indomitable and patch up situation?
Brace is my crutch, so okay. It's up to you.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Again, my bias is towards indomitable because where I play Criminal Syndicate, I just don't want to be moved. But I understand that brace is better for most affiliations because it's cheaper, it's more power. I'm just like, hey, listen, I just don't want to be off this point, so like, don't move me, put me back. Don't touch me.
Well, the plus for us is we have several characters that have out of activation movement.
Exactly. Yeah, so we're not really worried about that. So we really, I think we want brace specifically for the power economy. We want to only spend that 1, and it can be 1 off 2 characters if there's a throw into. So I mean, at most we're spending 2, but 1 off 2 different characters. So.
Right.
I like that. So what are some of the unrestricted, unaffiliated, uncharacter cards that you're looking at for this list?
Well, as you had said before, no more mutants is a possibility if you want to throw a second Scarlet Witch card in there.
Yeah, I think it's definitely one, because I think I mentioned it before. There's not I've mentioned it a ton on the cast. The one thing I realized, I've done it a couple times now, is I've really kind of went through and looked at all the tactics cards that are like not character specific, not affiliation specific. There's a lot of really bad cards.
There are a lot of untaken, unloved cards.
Yeah, like just a lot of them do the same thing. it's a lot of just like this character gets a reroll, and it's like, yeah, that's cool. And it's like, well, you have 3 different versions of this exact same card. But neither here nor there. I understand the point of all of them. I'm not bashing the development or anything of that nature. I understand completely. It kind of makes it pretty easy to build a tournament tactics card selection because you don't have. There's a lot that you can just kind of ignore. I liked the fact that the majority of them are affiliated or character specific. That's what I want in the game. I would love for more and more affiliated and character specific cards. So
a card that might be useful, I'm not sure, but I at least wrote down on my list was Trip Up.
Okay, let's look. Let's pull up Trip Up for those who have never seen this card in their life. And it's all the way down here. Where's it at? Trip Up. Trip Up reads, it's an unaffiliated reactive card. When an allied character targets an enemy character with an attack during its activation and the target character is within 2 of another allied character, the allied character may spend 1 power to each to play this card. If the target character is still damaged by the attack, after the attack resolve, it suffers stun and stagger special conditions. Yeah, I think it's right in line with what we want to do. Also, really cool art. I'll bring up the colored version of the art for everybody. I'm not sure how I feel about Carnage and Venom working together, but, you know, whatever. Yeah, I think Trip Up does exactly what we want to do. Like I said, yeah, I was probably the least prepared for this one, just because I don't like. I remember these cards, but like, there's a lot that I'm just like, what do they do? You kind of forget. They're kind of forgettable, unfortunately. What about Recalibration Matrix? How do you feel about that with this?
That was on my list. I take that a lot. I mean, it's good into a lot of things. If anyone's saw the Adepticon finals, you know, Pat Dunford's Thanos goes from being dazed to not taking any damage or whatever. So
yeah, it's one of those that feels pretty good. It's just the force the snare. I mean, it is exactly what the card shows. You're rolling the dice. I've got it pulled up. Like you're playing a little bit of gambling, but this is a dice game, guys. It's a dice game, regardless of what people want to say. And I'll be honest, unless you've played me, I take the dice out of this game as much as possible. It's still a dice game. It's still a dice game. It's gonna happen. You can't take it completely out. It's still a dice game. But I think that's one of those cards I think you always consider. I think that's a hard one. I think you should at least look at that. One other one I like to bring up all the time is Mission Objective.
That's on my list as well.
Yeah, I think with as much scenario play we have, and as wide as we can go, I think that's probably one we can look at.
What's that bring us to?
11.
11? Okay.
Yeah, we're at 11. What else? Do you have anything else that you want to look at?
Nothing. I mean, it's just filler. Like, I had fallback, escort to safe. Like, I had the other
fallbacks,
things to throw into
face
lists.
me's, escort to safety. What's the other one? The ones that you just play because they're just all around pretty good cards, but Mark for Death. But I mean, I don't know if there's any of those that we really need.
I don't think so.
If you're gonna be, this actually will probably come out the week of Immortal Hulk and MODOK. If you think that's gonna be a big thing, listen, guys. The tech's Grievous Wounds. It is what it is. That's the tech. If you think you're going to play a lot of Immortal Hulk and you're scared of it, Grievous Wounds is the card you're looking at playing. Just throw it in your 10. You can fit it.
The problem with Grievous, though, is you have to do damage, and if you don't, it's just nothing happens. You're like,
yeah.
Darn it.
Yeah, I mean, you got to commit. You have to commit. But like, I mean, that's the best tech I think that we're gonna have. Like for the affiliations that aren't good against or don't have a plan for Hulk in general.
Right.
If you just need a plan and you're like, I don't have anything, you probably don't have a solidified 10 that you can't fit this in. You can kind of fit this in and you're going to have a round where you're going to have to kind of change your game plan a little bit. And you're going to have hopefully somebody so for us, we're really looking at playing Grievous Wounds if we have Ghost Rider or Scarlet Witch, someone who can deal the damage.
Right. I mean, also with a lot of incinerate characters, like we can probably get an incinerate as long as he's not immune on a Hulk, and then go from there.
Also, guys, fun plaque. Just play Bullseye.
Just slip that auto damage in there.
Yeah, just play Bullseye. If you're scared about it, play Bullseye. Never worry about it. You're gonna deal 1 damage, I promise.
But does that count? Because it's not from the attack; it's from him afterwards with that superpower.
That's a good question. Let me do some reading here. I'm gonna have to read 2 different cards, which is not good for me. I'm not a reader. During the character activation, when it targets an enemy character with an attack, it may spend 1 to play this card. If the character deals damage by this attack, target character cannot have damage removed. All right, now let's go read the superpower. Hold on. All right, Bullseye. I never missed. After attack, made by this character resolved. No damage was done from this attack. This character made so attack. Oh, yep, it just suffers damage, so it wouldn't technically do any damage. There goes my fun tech.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I play big characters. It's fine. Yeah, I mean, you really playing. Something I want to bring up. I really like the variety of attack suite we ended up with. A lot of attacks of all 3 natures.
Yes.
You know what, guys? We got Bob. Just make sure you can throw excessive violence the turn you play it. Pay the power. Throw 9 dice into him. If you don't do a damage, you did everything you were supposed to do. It's not your fault.
True.
Right. I mean, I think that's the safest way. I mean, and we got Baron Mordo. Pump that baby up. Throw 11 dice.
11.
Throw 11. Yep. Throw 11 into him. If you don't do 1 damage.
Bob's dazing anyways. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, Bob's dazing. Don't worry about that part. Yeah, I think that's the safest play if you're playing this list and if you're worried about that, because we're gonna go over the cards. We've got 11. With grievous wounds, we would have 12. You really can kind of pick and choose at this point which ones you want. I think you keep your 2 restricted cards. You keep Pyrotechnics. If you're keeping this exact list, you're going to keep the Whims of Chaos, Deal with the Devil, and Double Agent. I really like Kick 'em while they're down and Trip Up. I think those are pretty slam dunks. I think No More Mutants is probably the one that gets cut here.
I mean, I don't see. Yeah, if you're going to cut something and you need to get rid of it, that's fine.
I think. I mean, it's that. So I think Trip Up and Kick 'em while you're down, I think stay. So we're looking at No More Mutants or Recalibration Matrix or Mission Objective. Yeah, I think it's No More Mutants, and it's a really good card. But I don't think we're terrified of any specific superpower that I can think of off the top of my head.
Unless you play against Magneto or something, like unless you have a superpower that you know you're going to run into a lot of, you're like, that guy's going to use that multiple times. I'm just going to use this now, and we're going to be done with it.
Yeah, let's just cut that. Let's cut that to court. But I think Recalibration Matrix is a little bit more universal, and I think Mission Objectives comes really into play, especially with as wide as we can play. It'll be really nice to kind of have that as a way to keep points and kind of keep the game flow in our favor. But I think it's one of those 3. Which one do you think? Which one are you leaning towards of the No More Mutants, Recalibration Matrix, or Mission Objective, or Trip Up? I guess I think Trip Up's really good for what we're trying to do.
Like I said, I think we can drop No More Mutants for now. But like you said, like maybe in your play area, you might want to keep that. Like then you might drop, Recal or Mission Objective. If we don't take extracts that we're worried about, maybe you don't care.
That's true. That's true. All right, so you want to do secure? So we got 10. I guess I forgot to go over this. We got 10. We ended up with Patch Up Embrace for our restricted cards, and then Pyrotechnics, the Whims of Chaos, Deal with the Devil, Double Agent, Kick 'em while they're down, Trip Up, Recalibration Matrix, and Mission Objective to solidify our 10 tactics card slots. So then we just got our secures and extracts. Les, which one do you want to go over first?
Let's do secures.
Do secures. All right. All right. So, demons?
I wasn't specifically thinking demons, because I know that was suggested in your guys' Discord, and I had said, it's not bad, but when everyone's incinerated, it's really hard to get rid of the incinerate that you get yourself. also you're going to have it for a round or two whenever it's still on you before you get rid of it.
That's true. Yeah, I don't. That's the only. I'm trying to think. So demons and what Mayor Fisk are the two that give out conditions.
Yes. And because the other problem with that is once, especially with Major Fist, like you can stun a bunch of people and then you're never getting rid of that stun. Like,
yeah,
you're like, oh, like I'd like to give you a stun condition, but I can't.
Also, with Mayor Fist specifically, also we probably don't have a great matchup against some other affiliations that want to be playing that.
True.
So that would be the only thing I would think of for that.
The ones I were kind of looking at was Infinity Formula, because you break it up into two.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we do well with picking a side or even stacking two, evenly matched sides.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier, I do like the bees.
And we like extra power, so why not, right?
Yeah. I can get behind that.
I was considering intrusions.
Okay.
Because we're going wide, so we can easily split up and have a guy teleport to a portal off the side of the board and be like, go hold that for me.
Yeah, and intrusions is a lot better than it was.
Yes.
You still
not having to take damage is nice.
Yeah. I think the only bad thing is that it only has 3 points.
True.
But not many of the secures, like I said, the secures that have really more than 4 are ones that I just think we probably... I think there's too many matchups we just lose to on Super Proud Scoundrels. But I don't think it's necessarily bad. I just don't know how I feel about those. Yeah, I was gonna bring up Sword because I think we have a really good game plan at 15.
Yes, we have a very mobile team too that we can pick.
Yeah. I've got it pulled up here for everybody on the YouTube that wants to look at it. If you're on your favorite podcast site, you can't really read all these, so I do apologize for that. But I like Sword. I like the... Let me make sure I've got the map right before I say anything. Yeah, it's like the mini B.
Yeah, it's 4 points, but it's a little bit closer in.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I like... I think that's a good one. Is there any others that you consider, or is that just kind of the 3 that you have kind of...
The 2 were question marks if you want, instead of going to 15. Like, I have a possibility of either Madman or Portals.
I had my mouse on Madman because I kind of think this might be a list that plays pretty well on the pay-to-flips.
It has good physical, which is what Madman uses to flip.
Yeah, and I like the idea of... there are a lot of lists that don't like to play pay-to-flips.
There are.
So if you can kind of play some of those pay-to-flips, you kind of take that... You can kind of take that game plan away from people because a lot of people don't really like to play that.
I believe it's also a B, or it's close to it, because it's
it is
another one that you got to split up to do.
No, yeah, it's a B, which is why I really like it. I really like that map. What was the other one you said after Madman?
Spire Portals.
It's like literally the one right underneath it.
It's a diamond.
Yeah, and I don't think it's bad. The only thing is, I don't know about playing Ds.
It was a possibility.
Are we I don't know if we're in D2.
We have a very mobile group, but
I
like Madman.
Yeah, and I like the pay to flips. Like I said, I think this is a list that likes to play pay to flips, versus not paying play to flips because, like I said, I don't think we strive like we don't have. This isn't Criminal Syndicate where you're like, oh, I want to play these two. They're like, yeah, I gotta play any of these. Right? So why not play the ones that no one else wants to play? That's kind of my mindset. I mean, we're Hydra, right? We're not good. We don't want anybody else to have fun. So make it unfun for them. Or force them to pick our secures or our extracts, which I think we like a lot more than the secures.
We'll just have to keep an eye out for X-Men, because they do love their pay-to-flips.
They do. So that's kind of... I was getting ready to get to that. So do Guardians. Guardians are pretty good on pay-to-flips. Just because they can go so wide and interact a million times. So you kind of... So I've got 5. I've got all 5 of them. We can come... I think we can kind of come back to... Let's do the extracts real quick and see what we end up there. What are you looking at on extract-wise?
I hate to suggest it, but I fear Grip's worthy. I mean, we want to do at
Hammers.
least 8 damage so that we can give a condition and heal.
Yeah. Hammers is. I mean, hammers is good, right? I mean, it's. Oh god, do we just get bodied on hammers though?
It can.
I know. I was just kind of spitting out loud. I was gonna recommend senators. I think we probably play senators pretty well.
I think we could, with the people we have, do a decent pickup. I would only be worried about if you have the Mystique, Hulk, Juggernaut play.
Yeah.
That might take this. Well, but we do have Pyro.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, especially for all the long movers, I think we can steal a couple from the other side and steal some really easy points early on.
You would just have to have a plan, and it will depend on what the secure is as well. But
yeah, you got it. You definitely got to have a plan. I don't know if it's good. I just kind of that was one of the ones I was thinking of.
I was considering the Montesi formula because we have usually most of our guys have decent Mystic.
Mm-hmm.
It's only 3 points for an extract. It's nothing that we're going to run away with, but we're okay with.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I know we do have a decent amount of Mystic attacks on our list. I'm not sure. The only thing I would be worried about is just kind of giving other teams that advantage of having that option. But I don't hate it. What about Spider Infected? How do you feel about that?
I was thinking either Spire Infected or Struggle for the cube.
Yeah. I think that's a... I hate Spider Infected. I'm never going to recommend it. I hate that.
And that's why I said Struggle, because hopefully we're at least, doing a damage to heal point if we can get out of condition. Yeah. So hopefully our leadership is helping us stay alive longer.
Yep. Okay. I can make that jump there. So you've got Struggle, Montesi, and Fear Grips.
I would say I don't know for sure. Are we a Skrulls team?
I was gonna ask that too because like I said, I think the extracts are a lot better for us than the secures are. So I liked Skrulls. I also liked Mutant. I think I like them because I think we can play wide on them, and I think we have a good enough scenario team to play on these.
I agree.
I think we play pretty well into Skrulls. So I think that the 3 I had for this were Skrulls, Mutants, and Spider Infected. And a lot of the reason I chose Spider Infected is because I hate it so much, and sometimes I just choose it to make me think I don't hate it as much as I do.
And like we said, we do have a couple of characters that have out of action movement, which can help us if they do get moved. You're like, I'm just gonna fly back here.
I'm just gonna come back. I'm just gonna get back to where I want to be. So those were those are the ones I considered. I do like Skrulls a lot. I want to click Skrulls. I want to click Mutants too. So we got 5 and 5 here. So we had back to this. We can do the extracts first. So on the extracts, we got Fear Grips, Montesi, Struggle, Skrulls, and Mutant Extremist target U.S. senators. So how are you feeling on those? Which ones are you thinking that we should?
Let's cut Montesi. Like if we're gonna lean into our extracts, we might as well lean into some of the better ones.
Okay. Yeah, I think I don't know. The way I'm leaning is I kind of really like the idea of playing like 2 pay-to flips to just really to really force people to play the extracts, letting us choose our extracts, and then I think we can take full advantage of the extracts a little bit better than the secures. The secures are pretty consistent across the board as long as we don't have those specific ones like superpowered scoundrels, gamma, demons. Some of the ones that we might just auto lose on.
Well, that works for me.
So that's kind of what at least that was my mindset on it. So what are you thinking of the last extract? So we got Fear Grip, Struggle, Skrulls, and Mutant Extremist target U.S. senators. So I think you were a little bit more worried about senators, right?
I am, but the plus is as long as, depending on how bad your opponent may or may not abuse it, we also have those non-action movements.
Yeah.
So you can move, do the non-action movement, and still get an attack or get away or whatever you want to try to do with those. An opponent who's not built for that would be a little disadvantaged upon that.
Yeah, and I really like the idea of Zemo and Spider-Woman just kind of stealing the far points.
Right.
And then, so if we go first, we can steal the 2 far points on their side and get all 3 on our side. So now we have 5 of the extracts, which I really like, which is something we can do really easily. So I guess to me, I think it's more of, do we want fear grips or struggle? And I don't really know the answer to that question.
I'd probably start with either the spider affected or the struggle.
Yeah.
And if it's something that we end up not liking, because it's 5 points, I think that, especially if we're going wider, gives us a better point value for that.
Yeah. So you're looking at just chopping off hammers.
Hammers, yeah.
Yeah. Also, one thing with hammers is we only have one real way to get someone to drop hammers with pyrotechnics, and
well, I mean,
like
Spider-Woman can make you drop it.
Yeah, and when we're going wide, yeah, that's true. We got a couple. I forgot that her spender does that. Going wide, we do have bodies that aren't as sturdy. I don't know if we want to help the opponent kill us.
That is the trouble with hammers, which I've always loathed to add. Like, how good are we at hammers?
Yeah, it's like, do I have a Hulk? Can I play hammers? Is usually my mindset on it, because
right.
I also don't play lists that want to play hammers, so that's never really my like when I play a Dormammu. When I play my Dormammu list for fun, I'm like, yeah, I want to play hammers. Let's all the dice, every dice. I don't care what's going on. So we got Struggle for the Cube, Scrolls, and Mutant Extremists locked in as the 3 for the extract.
Okay.
All right. So for Secures, we're looking at Infinity Formula, Intrusion, Sword Base, Mutant Madmen, and Portals overrun city with spider people. So what are you thinking here?
Well, you said you want to do...
I think that's just an idea. Yeah, that's just an idea. I'm not out here. I just think it's interesting. This is one of those lists that I think can take advantage of the pay-to-flips. As someone just thinking about when I play, if I saw like 2 pay-to-flips in someone's list, I wouldn't even look at the extracts, and I would be like, all right, cool, we're using your extracts. Like, I wouldn't even look at them. I don't want to play pay-to-flips. And then I think forcing them, and that's why I kind of wanted. I like our pay-to-flip, our extracts a lot, because I think it benefits us. So, like, if I was playing against this list, I'd be like, yeah, your extracts, I don't want to play those pay-to-flips. But that's just my mindset. I don't know if we truly benefit off of, like, intrusions.
Right. It's more of a point value, but it's nice that we could split up, but it's not one of those ones where, like, oh, intrusions will help us with X, Y, and Z, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and where it's a little slower, if we're playing against a bunch of attrition lineups, we could end up getting... So if we get our Secures and flip intrusions, and then say it's like intrusions and like research station, and then it's just exactly what you thought of. Oh god, like, I don't want to do that. And I always think, and that's, to be fair, the worst possible scenario, but research station is one of the most played extracts.
People like it. I had it in one of my lists, so...
Yeah, and there's some, and it's not the only extract that's a small point value. Like even Montesi, Deadly Legacy Viruses, the Alien Ship. There are a lot now that are not as, heavy on the points. And if you end up only having 6 or 7 points a game, where we're playing a little bit wider, I think we want to take advantage of, trying to end the game a little bit sooner than later.
So I would say then, if we're thinking, at least give it a try. I think we're looking at Sword, Madman, and Infinity.
Yeah, that's where I was leaning. I love the bees. I think we are absolutely insane on the bees. We don't have a bee. There's no bee extract, right? Yeah, there's not. Okay, I just want to make sure I didn't miss that. I think we have a really good play at 15. 15, 17, and 18, I think, are really good numbers for us. Right?
I mean, like I said, we built a ton of variability into all of that on how we can play the list and what we can put into it with the 2 5s, 2 4s.
Yeah, I'm pulling up
all the 3s, a 2.
Yeah, looking at the list breakdown right now, there's a bunch of options at 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Uh, there's a lot of stuff going on.
And I think the plus to our list is we can pivot into anything that our opponent might be bad at. So if you're playing against Convocation, we can try to be more physical.
Exactly.
If you're playing against someone who's weaker against Mystic, like if you're going against Weapon X or even Shield or anything like that, you could be like, sure, like I can do more Mystic now.
Yeah, and like I said, our defenses are pretty good across the board. We only have one character that rolls under 3 on Mystic, and that's or 2. We have 2. I forgot about Bob, but outside of Bob, we don't really have anyone with glaring weaknesses besides like Baron Mordo and his physical. He's not really going to be near anyone in the matches we take him. And then same thing with Bucky and his Mystic. Like we don't really, if he's getting hit by Mystic attacks, we've done something probably wrong.
Right.
So that's yeah. So I mean, how are you feeling overall about the list?
I mean, I'd like to give it a try. Like it'd be interesting to try out, put on the board.
Yeah. I think it's a pretty good starting spot if you want to build it. So I'm going to go over it top to bottom here. So for our 10 characters, we have final analysis for those on the podcast that I'm going to look at it. We've got Baron Strucker, Spider-Woman, Baron Zemo, Bob Agent of Hydra, and Winter Soldier for your affiliated characters / rogue agents. And then we have Scarlet Witch, Ghost Rider, Agent Venom, Baron Mordo, and Pyro for your unaffiliated characters. For our tactics cards, we have Brace for Impact, Patch Up, Pyrotechnics, The Whims of Chaos, Deal with the Devil, Double Agent, Kick 'em While They're Down, Trip Up, Recalibration Matrix, and Mission Objective. And then for our secures, we have Infinity Formula Goes Missing, Mutant Madmen turns City Center into Lethal Amusement Park, and then Sword establishes base on Moon's Blue Area. For our extracts, we have Struggle for the Cube, Scrolls infiltrate world leadership, and Mutant Extremists target U.S. senators. I like it.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Honestly, I like it a lot more than I thought I would, and not in no negative way. I didn't know how this list was going to turn out. So I was in for the ride on this one.
Well, the plus is, at the very least, it's a very good basic building block. You can easily change out any parts that you would rather do yourself or you find that might be better for you or your play style, I think, by just changing in whatever you like a little bit better. But it's a good starting point.
Exactly. And that's the whole point of this podcast. We're trying to give you that baseline tournament-ready list. I think if you take this list to a tournament, and this is what you want, if you wanted to play Baron Strucker, you love him for whatever reason, and you really want to play him in his leadership, I think this is a great starting point. But exactly what Les alluded to, this is something, all these lists are going to be lists that you're going to build off of. You're going to adjust to your personal play style. You're going to adjust to what you really want to do. It's just a really good building block. Ironically, it was really funny the other day. Brad was playing. He had played the Hellfire list a couple of times that we built a couple episodes back, and he's like, yeah, I think I want to make this change. And I'm like, yeah, that's the whole point. Like you played games, you tested, and you made adjustments to your personal play style. Like that's the whole point. That's the whole point. Like. For those of you, I know I talked about it a little bit, I think, in the first episode, but the reason that I'm doing this personally is because this is something that would have helped me out tremendously when I first started, is just to kind of have that baseline idea and then be able to build off of it. Instead, I was just playing defenders and all defender characters, and I had a real bad time for a real long time, and almost quit the game, to be honest. Like, I almost quit the game because I was like, I'm just not having fun. It's not a good time. I just don't enjoy it. If I would have been able to listen to something, see a defenders, I'm like, oh, those are good ideas. Let's play that. Or see other affiliations and kind of be like, oh, those are some of the characters I really want to play. I can play those there. Like Ghost Rider was one of the main characters, the main reason I wanted to play. Ghost Rider is one of my favorite characters.
Well, like you had also said, like we were going through earlier, and we had a bunch of Guardians in our list. Like if you want to do a Guardian Strucker Splash for Hydra, you could.
Yeah, honestly, building this, which is really funny that you mentioned that, because eventually I'm going to do some hybrids. After we go through all the main leaders, I'm going to do some hybrids and splits. I love the idea of a Baron Strucker Guardians of the Galaxy list. because of Ronan and Agent Venom both fitting in so well. And then plus, like, you have Groot and Rocket who fit in really well. Ronan fits in really well. Did I always say Ronan? I think I...
You did.
Yeah, okay. I thought I did, but I also thought I just completely misspoke. I think it's a nice little hybrid. I think it's an interesting hybrid. And I think that's one of my favorite things I love about this game is that you can play characters together that would never interact together in the comic world.
And we skipped Star-Lord, but Star-Lord could fit into a Strucker list. I mean, if you have the points for his element gun, like, he can be dumb.
Yeah, and he's a 3-threat character. Like, the base thing is we want to take advantage of 3-threat characters that do things. Star-Lord, guess what? He's a 3-threat character that does things, which is really interesting. Yeah, weird, right? Yeah, I've got him pulled up here on the screen for those. Yeah, and guess what? They give out conditions. So, yeah, it's cool little stuff. But it's just interesting, fun little fact. So don't take this as the best possible list ever. We try to build the best possible starting point, but obviously everyone has their personal preferences. But like always, yell at me in the comments. Tell me who we should have talked about, who we didn't talk about, who you think someone that's an autoplay that we just didn't even think about. We're always welcome to hear your opinions.
Tell us your threes. Like we were back and forth on several of them.
Yeah, lots of threes. Yeah, I think we had like 8 of them that we got stuck on. It's like, oh god, we got to pick one, and had to eliminate a bunch. But this is, and I think this is the list that has had the least affiliated characters. No real surprise because I think it's had the second lowest amount of affiliated characters behind Midnight Suns. We
were also trying to stick with Strucker. Like, not everyone in Hydra does what Strucker wants to do.
Yes, Hydra is much more Red Skull friendly than Strucker friendly as far as the models in the list. Which, again, like, that's the difference between, like, this and where I think there's, like, 9 Midnight Suns, but they all feed off of Blade's leadership because it's a very generic leadership.
Right.
So. All right, Les, anything else you want to tell the people?
No, I mean, give it a try. If you definitely improve upon it. Like, this is a great starting point. Take it wherever you want. I
do own most of these models, so I'm definitely willing to give this a shot. It'll probably be in 2 weeks, but I'm definitely willing to give it a shot. So check in on Crit Hit Wild in a couple weeks. We will. I'll talk about it on there. My gameplays. I like to play every list that I build. I've got. I might actually be able to play it this week, depending on if I can get 2 games in. Maybe. Okay. Who knows? Might be this week's episode of Crit Hit Wild. It might be a week or 2 from now. But check back in and see, because I know the models I don't have, I believe Brad has. But I could be wrong. If Brad doesn't, Fred does, and I can just take them from Fred if Fred shows up. But I don't know if he'll show up. But I like the list, actually. I think it's really fun. You know what this list reminds me of?
What?
Convocation, and the fact that it's, like, kind of sneaky.
Yes.
It's like you're doing sneaky things. Like, I know when Convocation came out, it was one of those affiliations. Like, this is a hard affiliation to play. I think this might be a kind of a list that you don't do well just picking up and playing, even though we have a lot of really good characters.
They are good characters. Like, it's so much fun whenever, like, your opponent's like, haha, I'm going to give you this, condition. You're like, I'll hold it for now, and then I'm just going to give it back to you. And they're like, I don't want it back.
Yeah, I don't want it back. I don't want that. But I'd say 7 of these characters are, like, A characters or above, which is pretty good, right?
Right.
If you can play a list where you're like, yeah, most of my characters are really, really good, and the other ones are probably Bs, like, you're in a good spot with this list. You got really good characters. Like, you can pick this up. You can get Oops, I Win just because the characters are good. And then once you really figure out the intricacies of this list, as well as you're going to catch a lot of people by surprise.
Yes. You're
going to catch a lot of people by surprise. Like, I kind of want to play this against some of the people that I locally play with just because I know it'll kind of catch them, and I like that idea. But again, I might just miss everything because most of the time when I'm playing, already worked like 10 hours and I'm exhausted. And I'm like, oh God, I forgot to do the things that I was supposed to do. But I'm excited to try this list out. I really appreciate you joining me. Hopefully we can get you back on sometime. I love talking to you here. I think we got a really good list to test out. And if you decide to play it, I know your local game nights are tomorrow, right? On Tuesdays.
The Forge usually does Tuesdays.
Yeah, Tuesdays. So if you're in the Pittsburgh area, what's the full name of the shop? I forget.
Fabricators Forge.
Fabricators Forge. If you're in the area, you can come down, play less, and tell me you want to play against this Baron Strucker list. Force them into that, and play. If you play some games, let me know how they go. Anyway, though, I appreciate everybody checking in, listening to us. Leave your comments, like, subscribes. Let us know what you think, or if you have an affiliation you want us to go over, give us some recommendations. I'm open to everyone. I really have a good time doing this, so I like doing some of the odds and ends. I've got some oddballs coming up for you, and I've got some mainstays coming up for you too. So stay tuned, and as always, play good games, have good games, and stay well. Bye, everybody.
See ya.